Good morning, guys. Hope your New Year's Day was good. Definitely had some really good football. I just wanted to kind of react to yesterday's games. Definitely some interesting results. I'll start with the Cincinnati-Georgia game. Cincinnati had it won. I picked them to upset Georgia. And they gagged it off at the end. They played really well, and at least they covered as far as covering the points. But, man, they gagged it off. All they had to do was run the ball on 3rd and 2 late. And Georgia, even if they don't get the first down, Georgia doesn't have time to get down and get a field goal at that point. So kudos to Georgia for capitalizing and fighting back. But I think that Cincinnati has proven at this point that the college football playoffs needs to be expanded. I mean, I think, they need to be expanded to probably the top 8 teams at least. I'd be in favor of doing that. I don't know that I would go beyond that, but I think the top 8 teams are, should be, locked into the playoffs. So in my mind, I think that, maybe you shorten the regular season a little bit because there's a lot of time in between the bowl game and the end of the regular season in normal years. This year was different because the season got all, delayed and everything else because of COVID. So I definitely think there's an argument to be made at this point. I think that teams like Cincinnati deserve a shot try to win it all, and I think that's even better for recruiting for some of these smaller programs. And I think you're gonna, if you expanded the playoffs, I think the balance of power in college football would be a little bit more evenly distributed, and you see probably better games because right now, those top recruits, they're not really going anywhere. They're not really going to go anywhere else other than those big-time programs because they want to compete for a title, and rightfully so. So I think that expansion would be a very positive thing for college football. Second game, Auburn and Northwestern, definitely missed on this one. Auburn came out and just didn't play well. They just did not play well. Bo Nix struggled most of the day. And I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the entire coaching staff that's remaining is probably going to get wiped out at this point. So, because they really didn't show themselves worthy yesterday. They did a terrible job. They had a terrible game plan, and they looked disjointed. Northwestern came out and took it to them. So, got to give Northwestern some credit there. I'm still not a big believer in Northwestern. I think they do very well with what they have, which I don't think that they have a whole lot of great players. So, but hey, they deserve credit. I think the coaches did a solid job. They had a really good game plan for Auburn, and they just outplayed them. So they did very well there. So the third game, Alabama and Notre Dame. Honestly, I thought Notre Dame was beaten before they got out on the field mentally. I think the coaching staff did a bad job with getting these guys prepared. They had the Alabama defense looking like the Alabama defense of Bear Bryant's days. This big shutdown, can't hardly move the ball, type of a defense. When I know that's not the truth because, Florida just put 53 points on them. So, I just think Notre Dame, honestly, I think they need a new coach. I know that sounds kind of crazy and harsh because Brian Kelly's done a really good job with them, record-wise and everything. But, I mean, these big games, they should be playing better than what they're playing, and they should be a significantly closer in these games. So it's really surprising to see them not put up more points. Alabama pretty much took their foot off the gas, and thankfully so, because at least we were able to backdoor cover this thing I had Notre Dame plus 19.5, and Notre Dame scores that late touchdown and ends up backdoor covering on that part of it. Missed the over in this game just because Alabama wasn't pushed. So they didn't need to score anymore because they knew Notre Dame couldn't score. So they just got really conservative and started running the football and not really going down the field much. So just disappointing in that game for sure. Disappointment. I expected a lot closer than that. I thought they would at least keep it within a touchdown, but hey, doesn't matter. We got the win, at least half of the win there, when we're able to get them to cover. So, and the last game, the nightcap, Ohio State and Clemson. Wow, what a game! I mean, I could just, do an entire video on that game alone, but man, that was something. And I love my man Dabo down there in Clemson, but this is why, I always tell my kid, because he plays football too, and anybody who will listen, you don't really want to give, in football, you really don't want to give anybody any kind of fuel or a reason to beat you. Football is largely an emotional game. Obviously, and football is largely a want-to game. And when you look at it, what you don't want to do is give that guy a reason to be emotional and come after you and want to beat you. And I think that Ohio State already had a lot of that operating. I think the telecast did a nice job of illustrating how they carried last year's loss with them throughout the entire year, as far as how they were training. That score that they posted up into the weight room as the guys were working out and training and preparing their bodies for the season just speaks to how badly they wanted Clemson specifically, and how motivated they were anyway. And so Dabo goes out, and if you guys don't know it, goes out and says they should have been ranked 11th. Maybe Clemson should have been ranked 11th with the way they played. I'm not a big-time Trevor Lawrence fan. I never have been. I know everybody thinks in the NFL thinks that he's the second coming. I don't. I see some flaws in his game. And I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence couldn't be an excellent pro quarterback, because he certainly has all the tools to do so. But I don't see him as this Andrew Luck type, can't miss, Peyton Manning. Not that Andrew Luck is in the same breath as Peyton Manning, but I think we'll all agree that Andrew Luck was the whole show, and was definitely a top 5 quarterback, even though he retired early. But the Peyton Mannings of the world, the John Elways of the world, the can't miss quarterback prospects. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is on that list. I see a lot of flaws in his game as far as accuracy issues. He's very inconsistent throwing the football. He doesn't tend to do well in big time situations. This is the second big time game that he's absolutely laid an egg in. And I'll say the same thing about Ohio State's defense that I say about Alabama's. They're serviceable, but they're certainly not that good. And to get held down in situations in that game, he had a couple guys running wide open over the middle of the field, and he just airmails it. Justin Fields, to me last night, looked like he was the can't miss prospect, not Trevor Lawrence. So I'm definitely going to be critical of him. I'm going to be critical of Clemson's defense. I know that the Ohio State, Justin Fields was playing out of his mind. I get that. He was playing unbelievable last night. But over the past couple years, Brent Venables has left a lot to be desired defensively. And I think it's time for Clemson to start looking at possibly moving on from him, because with the tools that he has to work with, the top recruiting class, or one of the top recruiting class year after year, for him to go out and lay an egg like that, again, in a big-time game, and not even against an offense the same caliber as LSU's offense was last year, is a bit alarming. The fact that he has two of his sons playing on his defense, drives me crazy because I can't stand nepotism. But not only that, they're not very good. So, if you are going to have your sons playing for you, they need to be adequate, and his sons aren't. So I just think it's time for Clemson to look in a different direction there. They're still an excellent football team. I'm not trying to take anything away from them or cast aspersions on them, but they definitely left a lot to be desired there, going up against Ohio State. But kudos to Ohio State. It's going to be a tremendous championship game between them and Alabama. Can't wait to see that. I hope Ohio State doesn't let down, because they seem like they really wanted to play Clemson specifically. So hopefully they don't let down and end up getting killed against Alabama. But we'll talk more about that game next week. And we got some other bowl games coming on today. We'll definitely have some conversations about. But anyway, guys, I'll let you go on that. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We got the New Year started off kind of okay there. We're going to see if we can do a little better today when I post this next video. So thanks, guys.